After a 6-month business trip, my wife rushed into my arms the moment we met, and asked to have a child. This sudden request made me suspicious. Was she already pregnant? Was she trying to pin it on me? After all, I'm away for long periods. If she brought another man home, I'd never know. To test my wife's loyalty, the next day, I installed hidden cameras in every corner of the house. Then, claiming an urgent work trip, I checked into the hotel across from our home, and monitored the house through my phone screen. For 3 straight days. My wife's behavior was normal, until the 4th day. She dressed up and left happily. I immediately suspected she was meeting someone, so I zoomed in on the phone camera, and kept my eyes fixed on the community gate. Soon, I saw her figure appear. I quietly followed her, but she ended up at the market. I felt a wave of relief. Maybe I was wrong about her. An hour later, she returned with bags of groceries. I went back to the hotel to keep watching. On screen, she put down the groceries, then picked up her phone and made a call. How soon will you be here? About 3 more hours, Oko. I realized someone was coming to our house. My heart sank. I stared at the monitor, barely getting through 3 hours. Finally, a knock at the door. My wife happily answered it. A man entered the camera frame. The moment I saw his face, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. It was her bot, Jibwiching. Watching them laugh and eat together, as intimate as a married couple, my head felt like it was splitting. I wanted to rush over and beat them both, but reason held me back. I had to wait for solid evidence. Half an hour later, they finished eating and went to the bedroom to rest together. At that moment, though I was burning with rage, my face was calm, and I smiled. A bitter smile. I worked myself to the bone for money, just to give her a stable home, to save up a 200,000 down payment. I endured hardship, bought a house, and got married. But just a year later, she did this behind my back, staring at the ugly scene on my phone. A cold smirk slowly spread across my lips. Then I exited the surveillance feed, and used a new SIM card to call the police. I want to report a crime. Unit 6, Room 703, Eugene Garden. It sounds like a woman is being attacked. I heard faint cries for help. Please come as soon as possible. Any later, and her life might be in danger. Please keep my identity confidential. I'm afraid the attacker might retaliate. After hanging up with the police, I immediately called the media. There's a big shittery here. A major incident at Unit 6, Eugene Garden. Please come right away. Without waiting for more questions, I hung up. Lit a cigarette in the car, Lu Fong. I've even sacrificed my own reputation. Let's take this slow. I reopened the ugly scene on the monitor. Watching and muttering, average looks. Not as good as me in figure, but at least he's a company bot, maybe richer than me. Lu Fong, if you betrayed our family for this, then I was blind. Soon, several police cars arrived at the community. The police went upstairs, and residents gathered to watch. Then a reporter and photographer showed up. My smile grew wider, but as I laughed, a few tears slid down. About half an hour later, the police led Lu Fong and Jibwiching, both dressed neatly, into the car. A clever reporter snapped photos in the crowd. Onlookers also filmed with their phones. I heard it was a home invasion. That man is truly scum. Don't talk nonsense. Where'd you get that? Let me tell you, that woman lives above me. Her husband is often away on business. When he's not home, I often hear that kind of noise upstairs. Clearly, she's cheating. Hey, I knew about this too. I was going to tell her husband. But now, he's probably furious. I'm sure they're both famous now, and I'll be the victim in this. My goal was achieved. Now I just wait for the police to call the family to pick her up. I can't wait to see my wife's face when she sees me. Soon after returning to the hotel, I got a call from the police. This is the Hangzhou Public Security Bureau. Are you Mr. Wang? I smiled smugly, but my tone was deliberately confused. Is there something I can help you with? We received a report that your wife was assaulted. I quickly interrupted. My wife is in trouble? Are you sure? You're not a scam call, are you? Sir, please calm down. My wife is Lu Fong. Are you sure it's her? What's happening to her now? The police officer was interrupted twice. This time, his tone was stern. Sir, please listen first. Your wife wasn't assaulted. I pretended to be relieved. Good, I'm glad Lu Fong is okay. But she cheated. Our investigation shows it was consensual. The officer's blunt statement left me silent for a long time. I pretended to be devastated. But I, the cuckold, had been cuckolded. And it really was a blow. Mr. Wang, are you okay? We know this is hard to accept, but you need to stay strong. My voice was bitter. I'm fine. It's just so sudden. I need some time to process. Also, you didn't tell my in-laws, did you? They're old and in poor health. They can't handle the SOC. There was a pause on the other end. Sorry, my colleague already notified them. They're on their way. I smirked slightly, pretending to be worried. I'll be right there. I hung up. I tossed my phone aside and lay back. Lu Feng. Let's see how you face your parents. I remember your dad has a heart condition, right? I wonder if he'll be furious enough to have a heart attack. I let out a cold laugh and started thinking about how to act later. Until 11 p.m., I finally headed to the police station. As soon as I got out of the car, I acted frantic and rushed into the observation room, my expression barely hiding my anger. Lu Feng sat on the chair, eyes empty. When she saw me, she shamefully lowered her head. I gently took her hand. She tried to pull away, but I held tight. Honey, tell me, was I not good enough to you? Lu Feng still kept her head down, silent. Then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. It was my parents-in-law. You don't have to talk to me, but think about how you'll explain to them. I stepped aside to answer. What? His heart condition flared up again? I'll bring Lu Feng over now. I turned back to see Lu Feng still dazed. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Your dad's in the hospital. We'll talk about us later. On the way, I rolled down the window, letting the cold wind hit me. Suddenly, I asked, are you pregnant? Lu Feng stared silently out the window, still not saying a word. If you want to stay married, get rid of the child. I don't believe it's mine, and I won't raise another man's kid. Lu Feng remained silent. This series of blows was probably too much for her to handle. We arrived at the city hospital. I saw my mother-in-law, Li Suihua, and Lu Feng's uncle outside the ER. I hurried over and asked nervously, Mom, how's Dad? Is his life in danger? Li Suihua grabbed my hand, full of guilt. Xiao Wang. I'm sorry. We failed to raise her right. We brought shame on you. I'm so sorry, Mom. Let's talk about this later. You haven't paid for Dad's surgery yet, have you? Let me go pay first. Li Suihua held me back and said with shame, Xiao Wang, how can we still use your money? Mom, you and Dad have always treated me like family. I'm an orphan. You gave me a sense of home. Even without Lu Feng, I should still pay. I gently pulled my hand away and turned toward the payment counter. My mother-in-law watched my back, wanting to speak but stopping. Full of guilt, she walked over to Lu Feng. Lu Feng lowered her head and timidly said, Mom, don't call me Mom. I don't have a shameless child like you. Li Suihua raised her hand and slapped Lu Feng hard. Xiao Wang is such a good husband. And you did this? Think about how you'll explain yourself. Lu Feng grabbed her mother's hand and cried, Mom, I was completely blind. Forgive me this once. Li Suihua shook her off forcefully and ignored her, sitting back down, staring at the operating room. When I returned after paying the surgery fee, I saw Lu Feng left standing alone. A faint smile crossed my lips. I also ignored her and went to comfort my mother-in-law. Mom, don't worry too much. Dad will be fine. I've paid all the fees. If more is needed, I'll cover it. Li Suihua was both ashamed and moved. Xiao Wang, we've wronged you. Even if you want a divorce, we agree. The surgery fee, we'll pay you back as soon as possible. Mom, let's talk about this at home. Just then, Lu Feng hesitated and slowly walked up to me. Suddenly kneeling, she said tearfully, Honey, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Forgive me this time. I promise I won't do it again. I pretended to help her up. This is a hospital. Let's talk when we get home. But Lu Feng cried and hugged my leg. My mother-in-law stood up and slapped the back of her head. Another slap. Get up. We're in a hospital. Isn't this embarrassing enough? Lu Feng looked at her mother in SOC. She had hoped to use her mother's presence to guilt me into forgiving her. Even just a perfunctory word from me would give her a glimmer of hope. But she didn't expect her own mother to not help her. A hint of mockery passed through my heart. I knew exactly what she was thinking. For someone like me, who's already thrown away my reputation, why would I care about my mother-in-law's opinion? A few hours later, my father-in-law was finally wheeled out of surgery. I dutifully said to my mother-in-law, Mom, Uncle, you've been up all night. Go home and rest. I'll stay and watch. That won't do. Xiao Wang, you've been up all night too. You should go home and rest. And you and Lu Feng need to discuss what to do next. With that, I didn't argue, and left the hospital with Lu Feng. As soon as we got home, Lu Feng knelt right in front of me. Honey, I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Humph. A flash of anger crossed my eyes. Was I not good to you? Or were you just too lonely? Honey, I really know I was wrong. I promise you, this will never happen again. Can I still trust your promise? Actually, it's not entirely her fault. I'm always away on business, and a woman like her naturally has suitors. She also wanted someone to truly understand her. Honey, please give me one more chance. I'll make up for everything. I'll quit my job tomorrow and stay home to take care of you, as long as you forgive me. I pushed her away, stared at her for a moment, then raised my fist. Lu Feng closed her eyes in fear. As my fist came down, nothing happened. I had pulled my punch, and instead gently stroked her cheek, looking at her with a tender expression. I've never yelled at you in all these years, so how could I ever hit you? Lu Feng hugged me again, crying. Honey, forgive me. Don't divorce me. Let's lie well from now on. We'll see how you behave. If I forgave you just like that, I'd be a total pushover. Lu Feng was overjoyed and eagerly grabbed my arm. I'll do my best. I won't let you down. I didn't explicitly forgive her, but I didn't push for a divorce either, just to give her hope, because my plan wasn't over yet. I picked her up and headed to the bedroom, but stopped when I saw the bed. Lu Feng immediately understood and quickly got down from my arms. Honey, don't look. I'll change the bed right away. I ignored her and walked to the balcony. Lu Feng knew I needed space and didn't follow to pester me. She called someone to take the furniture away, but even with new furniture, I had no desire to be intimate with her. The next day at noon, I brought food to the hospital for her parents. After I set out the food, her mother, Li Suehua, frowned and asked, "Where's Lu Feng?" "She's outside." Dad gets upset seeing her. She didn't dare come in. If she really cared about her dad, she wouldn't have done something so shameful. I just smiled, as if not angry. While they ate, I sat by the bed, taking care of the old man. I thought I saw my father-in-law's finger twitch. Looking closer, I saw his eyes were open. I quickly leaned in with concern. "You're awake. Do you feel any discomfort?" My mother-in-law and uncle gathered around. Lu Feng peeked in from the door, but didn't dare enter. Li Suehua quickly asked, "Old man, how do you feel? Are you in pain?" Lu Wuqiang didn't respond. He just scanned the room with a stern face, then muttered angrily, "Oh, well, my own daughter is less reliable than my son-in-law. I was almost dead, and she didn't even come to see me." "Dad, she's outside. She's afraid you'll get angry if you see her. Tell her to get in here." I glanced at my mother-in-law. She nodded at me, so I went out and pulled Lu Feng in. Seeing her father's stern face, Lu Feng lowered her head in fear and whispered, "Dad, don't call me Dad. I don't have a daughter like you." Lu Feng fell to her knees, tears streaming. "Dad, I know I was wrong. Please don't be angry." I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. She's gotten pretty good at kneeling. Lu Wuqiang struggled to sit up, but didn't have the strength. He turned to me. "Xiao Wang, slap her for me." I was stunned, not knowing how to respond. I really wanted to hit her, but I suspected the old man was testing me. Seeing me hesitate, he provoked me again. "What, you can't even hit a woman? Are you even a man?" Lu Wuqiang's words were like a spark, burning in my chest. I looked at Lu Feng, trembling on her knees, then at my father-in-law's sharp, cloudy eyes. The room was so quiet you could hear the drip. "Who cares if it's a tet? You told me to hit her. So I'll hit her." I suddenly raised my hand, gritting my teeth as I stared at Lu Feng. My hand came down at lightning speed. Lu Feng closed her eyes, her lashes trembling. My mother-in-law, Li Suehua, turned away. My uncle also sighed, but my hand stopped in mid-air and didn't land on Lu Feng's face. Instead, I gently patted her shoulder. "Dad, I can't do it. After all, she's the woman I married. If I hit her, our bond would be truly broken." I spoke sincerely, my eyes even reddened slightly. Lu Feng looked up at me in disbelief, tears streaming down her face. My father-in-law, Lu Wuqiang, was taken aback, then let out a long sigh. His stern expression finally softened, showing a hint of exhaustion and shame. "Xiao Wang, our family has wronged you." I shook my head and turned to pour water, but my face, hidden from them, was expressionless. Sympathy and pity had burned away the moment I saw the surveillance footage. Now, all I felt was cold calculation and the coming satisfaction. A week later, my father-in-law was discharged to recover at home, claiming it was for convenience. I suggested they stay with us temporarily. Lu Feng naturally didn't dare object. Li Suihua was so moved she didn't know what to say. Life seemed to return to normal. I went to work as usual, and even softened my attitude toward Lu Feng. She quit her job, as she'd promised, staying home all day, cooking and cleaning, tiptoeing around me and her parents. At night, she slept in the guest room, the new bed she'd so eagerly replaced. I never set foot in. She thought her atonement had begun, thought that if she was humble enough, time would heal everything. Too naive. My counterattack was just beginning. Through some anonymous tip-offs, and rumors spread quietly, I successfully made the scandal of Ji Buqing having an affair with a subordinate's wife, and being taken away by the police, spread throughout his industry. His small company was already unstable, relying on a few big clients, and coincidentally, the project managio of one key client was my college roommate. A week later, Ji Buqing's company lost its biggest order. The cash flow tightened. 3 days later, tax and business authorities showed up for a very thorough inspection. Ji Buqing was frantic, calling everyone he knew for help. He naturally tried to contact Lu Feng, but all of Lu Feng's communications were under my surveillance. Every time she saw Ji Buqing's call, she looked like she'd seen a snake, and panicked, hanging up and blocking him. I looked at the call logs and texts I'd intercepted, and smiled, saving screenshots of a few key messages. One evening at dinner, I casually mentioned, "Oh, by the way, I heard from a former colleague today that Ji Buqing's company is about to go under, and he's being chased by debt collectors. Sounds pretty rough." Lu Feng's hand, holding the soup ladle, trembled, spilling the soup. My mother-in-law, Li Suihua, frowned. My father-in-law, Lu Huaxiang, slammed down his chopsticks. Serves him right. That morally bankrupt scum deserves exactly this. Xiao Weng, don't mention people like that. It's disgusting. Dad's right. I just think karma is real. When the time comes, nothing escapes. I smiled warmly and put some food on my father-in-law's plate. Lu Feng was pale, head down, and didn't say a word the rest of the evening. Late at night, I sat in my study at the computer and logged into an encrypted SAO drive filled with backups of surveillance footage, communication records, and the information I'd gathered about Ji Buqing's company's financial issues, enough to ruin him completely in the industry, even face legal risks. But I didn't rush to send it out. A single fatal blow is satisfying, but watching the prey slowly fall into a trap, struggling in despair, isn't that more interesting? I'm waiting for him to make the last mistake himself. Your smile is too warm. I consulted a lawyer about divorce and property division. With sufficient evidence, though the surveillance footage involves privacy, it's highly likely to be accepted as evidence of infidelity in court. And since the woman is the at-fault party, the lawyer said I could almost make him leave with nothing. But I told the lawyer not to start the process yet. What I want is more than just a divorce. The lawyer looked at me puzzled. I didn't explain. Some punishments the law can't deliver. Only I can. I drafted an agreement. Not a divorce agreement, but a marital property agreement and behavior guarantee. It detailed clearly. Because Lu Feng seriously violated marital fidelity, she voluntarily gave up all joint property after marriage, mainly all rights to that house, transferring it to my sole ownership, and promised, if there's any further disloyalty or behavior harming family interests, she must pay me high compensation. I placed the agreement in front of Lu Feng. Sign it. Lu Feng looked at those terms. Lips trembling, husband. This house, we saved for the down payment together. And paid the mortgage together after marriage. But out of the 200,000 down payment, 170,000 came from me. The card for mortgage payments after marriage is my salary card. Most of your money went to your clothes, cosmetics, and expenses for meetups, dates, and meals, right? Need me to help you calculate? My tone was calm, but it cut like a knife. Lu Feng slumped in her chair. If I sign, will you forgive me? Lu Feng, do you think you still have the right to negotiate? Sign it to prove your sincerity in repentance. Maybe we can still keep a little false dignity between us. If you don't sign, you can pack your things and leave this home now. See if your parents will still let you in. See how you'll lie penniless and notorious. She remembered her parents' cold stares at the hospital, remembered the neighbors pointing fingers behind her back, remembered Ji Buqing's pitiful state of being unable to save himself. She finally realized the man who once obeyed her every wish had already woven an inescapable net. She picked up the pen, her fingers trembling so much she could barely hold it, signed her name at the end of the agreement, and pressed her fingerprint. Go to the housing bureau tomorrow to handle the procedures. Watching her look as if she had lost everything, a cold, satisfying feeling surged in my heart. But this wasn't enough. I unintentionally let the she-to-re of the police visit and reporters taking photos spread through a gossipy neighbor in the community. In a more vivid, detailed version. In the she-to-re, Lu Feng became a restless woman who seduced her bot. Ji Buiqing was a scumbag who abused his power to exploit subordinates. And I was a deeply hurt but still kind-hearted man, willing to accept a repentant wife. Public opinion exploded. Lu Feng barely dared to go out. Every time she went grocery shopping, she had to be fully disguised and come back quickly. Online, some local media even posted exposés. Though they hid real names and specific neighborhoods, insiders knew immediately. His social death was complete. One weekend afternoon, my in-laws went out to visit friends. I called Lu Feng to the balcony. Ji Buiqing tried to contact you again yesterday. Sent a text to your old number, begging you to consider old times, and lend him some money to get through this. I shook my phone. I had already forwarded calls from his old number to my phone. Lu Feng's face turned pale instantly. I didn't. I blocked all his contact info long ago. Husband, you have to believe me. I believe you didn't respond. But look. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. The crack you left always attracts these dirty things. I approached her, looking down into her terrified eyes. You know, lately I've been thinking, if we had a child, would everything be different? Would you restrain yourself because of maternal responsibility? A faint spark of hope lit up in Lu Feng's eyes. She eagerly grabbed my sleeve. Husband, we can. We can have a child right away. I'll be a good mother. I'll lop our child with all my heart. To make up for my mistakes. Really? I gently pulled her hand away. My tone suddenly turned ice cold. Too bad I don't want that anymore. Especially thinking you might have carried someone else's bastard. Or even now, your body still holds traces. It disgusts me. Lu Feng. You'll never be worthy of being the mother of my child. This is our family's bloodline. Can't be tainted by you. That sentence completely shattered her last mental defense. She collapsed to the ground, without even the strength to cry, her eyes hollow, as if her soul had been drained. That's exactly the effect I wanted. Destroy the last thing that gave her dignity and hope. From now on, she would lie in the prison I gave her. A shell with no property, no dignity, no social life, no future, even deprived of the hope of having children. And her beloved parents would be my most loyal jailers. Because of their guilt toward me and anger at her failure, I would continue to play the magnanimous, yet still pained husband, maintaining a false harmony in front of her parents, and she would spend every remaining day paying a long, painful PE for her brief pleasure. I turned and left the balcony, leaving her alone in endless cold and despair. The sun was shining outside. A genuine, satisfied smile finally curled at the corner of my mouth. I thought the game was entering a boring punishment phase, but I didn't expect the prey to add a scene itself. 3 months later, Ji Buiqing, who had almost disappeared from the local business scene, miraculously came back to life. Rumor had it he latched onto a wealthy widow from another city, using all his skills to charm her. She not only invested to save his company, but also used her connections to get him 2 government projects. He got divorced, paid a hefty price, and completely broke free from his ex-wife's family. Now, he drives a more luxurious car, frequents even higher-end places, all dressed up, full of himself. These news spread like wildfire into my home. While Lu Feng was washing dishes in the kitchen, I casually played a local financial news clip on my phone about Ji Buiqing's company launching a new project. The sound of ceramic dishes clattering stopped abruptly. From her suddenly stiff back and slightly trembling fingers, I caught the foolish hope rekindling. A dog can't change its habit of eating shit. Some people hit a wall. And instead of turning back, think the wall isn't hard enough. I put down my phone, my eyes icy cold. Since you still want to play, let's continue. I first pretended to receive a company assignment, requiring frequent short business trips, each lasting 2 or 3 days. Before leaving, I'd deliberately say to Lu Feng, take care of mom and dad at home. Don't disappoint me again. With a tired look and a hint of faint trust, I knew that after I left, that old phone she thought was hidden would ring, but I had already tampered with it. Calls and texts would sync to my phone. Not long after, Ji Buiqing's number appeared again and again. At first, Lu Feng didn't dare to answer, but someone repressed for too long needs an outlet. On the night of my 3rd business trip, she tremblingly pressed answer. Feng, I know you've suffered. Is that bastard torturing you every day? I'm better now, I have money. I can protect you. Leave him and come with me. Let's start over. Don't lie to me. I have nothing now. How could I lie to you? Everything I have now is for you. I've already dumped that old hag. As long as you come, you'll be Mrs. G. Meet me at the old place tomorrow afternoon. I brought you a gift. To comfort you well. I checked the old place. It's located in the suburbs. A hot spring resort hotel known for its privacy. So eager. I sat in a hotel across from my home, watching the synced call records and the upcoming hotel booking info, and smiled. Then I dialed a number. Brother Lee, about what you mentioned last time. The report materials on Chengda Industrial using substandard materials. On the Heshi project. You can add some more explosive stuff. Debt. I have their internal purchase orders and TET reports. I'll send them to you later. And also, their General G seems to have a loose lifestyle. Tomorrow afternoon at Yunding Hot Spring, there might be a business meeting. You guys covering local news should be interested, right? On the other end was a media contact I had already greased. Ji Bwiching thought relying on the rich widow would secure his future. He didn't know that the widow's competitor had long been looking for a chance to bring him down, and I just happened to provide some key ammunition, and kindly tipped off his whereabouts. Lu Feng dressed up carefully, with an excitement of escaping a cage, and a reckless determination. She went to the meeting. She didn't know that from the moment she left. At least 3 groups were watching her. The private detective I hired, the paid gossip reporter, and the person Ji Bwiching arranged to secretly film evidence. Ji Bwiching's plan, I could roughly guess, to toy with, control, maybe even use those as leverage to threaten Lu Feng, or even disgust me. They entered the room. The private detective recorded from across the building with the telephoto lens. The reporter waited in the lobby and parking lot. At first, it looked like a rekindled old flame, passionate and intense. But soon, things took a sharp turn. Ji Bwiching wasn't as gentle as he was on the phone. Instead, he was rough and verbally abusive. Stop pretending to be innocent. Do you think you're still that little secretary who made my heart race? You're just a piece of goods that guy played with and can't get rid of. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have taken such a big fall before. Do you know how disgusting it was for me to serve that old woman to get back on my feet? All of this is your fault. No, it's not. I lop you. Don't hit me, lop my money, right? Let me tell you, now I have money. But you're only fit to be a hidden plaything. Be good, serve me well. Maybe I'll give you some pocket money. If not, I'll send these photos and videos to your magnanimous husband. And your parents. Let the whole city see how cheap you are. The following scenes and sounds were unbearable. Ji Bwiching vented all his anger from business failure and loss of dignity on Lu Feng. Lu Feng went from initial anticipation to fear, then to numb despair, all in one afternoon. While I watched this lie she trim remotely, my heart was calm, even a bit amused. See, this is the lop and reliance you betrayed everything for. Just as Ji Bwiching was smugly satisfied, about to leave the room, there was a knock on the door. Outside stood not only hotel security, but also reporters who had caught wind. Flashlights instantly lit up the scene. Ji Bwiching, disheveled, his panicked face, and Lu Feng curled up in the corner, her miserable figure clearly captured. At the same time, online, exposés about Chengda Industrial's project quality, financial fraud, and Ji Bwiching's messy personal life exploded, with a force far greater than the first time. The rich widow immediately issued a statement cutting ties, withdrawing investment and distancing herself. The house of cards Ji Bwiching had just built collapsed in a single day, more thoroughly than last time, with no chance of recovery. Lu Feng slunk home like a dog with its tail between its legs, with visible bruises on her face, her eyes vacant and mind dazed. Ji Bwiching's humiliation, beating, the SOC of exposure, and the second wave of online exposure, completely shattered her. My in-laws had already seen the local news on their phones, with blurred faces, but still recognizable as their daughter in the explosive report. The atmosphere at home was terrifyingly low. As soon as Lu Feng entered, my father-in-law, Lu Huaqiang, suddenly stood up, clutching his chest, his face purple, unable to speak a word, and collapsed to the ground. Dad, old man, Another frantic emergency rescue. This time, Lu Huaqiang didn't wake up. Sudden massive heart attack. Resuscitation failed. The patient suffered a sudden massive heart attack. We did our best, but resuscitation failed. Please accept our condolences. My mother-in-law, Li Tsuehua, fainted from crying several times. She pointed at Lu Feng and hoarsely yelled, "Get out. You're not my daughter. You're the murderer who killed your father. I never want to see you again." Lu Feng was completely kicked out of the house, whether it was her parents' home, or the home that legally belonged entirely to me. She was penniless, with a ruined reputation, and on the verge of mental breakdown. Throughout the whole process, I played the role of a tragic figure, who suffered his wife's betrayal again and his father-in-law's death. I properly handled my father-in-law's funeral, comforting the grief-stricken mother-in-law. She insisted on moving back to the old house, showing a cold indifference, with no more ripples toward Lu Feng's misery. Lu Feng, we're even. You're fry. Go pursue your lot. Just don't forget, all of this was your own choice. That sentence became the last straw that broke her. She began to suffer severe hallucinations and delusions, always feeling someone was following her, cursing her, thinking Ji Buqing was coming to kill her, thinking her parents were cursing her. She wandered the streets, crazy and disheveled. Finally, when she tried to attack a phantom again, she was subdued by the police. After forensic evaluation, she was diagnosed with severe schizophrenia, and was forcibly sent to the city mental hospital. I visited her once. Through thick glass, she wore a straitjacket, her eyes hollow, muttering to herself, sometimes screaming, sometimes giggling, completely unable to recognize anyone. Ji Buqing was worse off. His career completely destroyed, facing multiple charges and creditors at his door. Abandoned by everyone, he eventually disappeared. Rumor has it he fled to some remote place to barely survive. With that, my plan was perfectly completed. All those who hurt me got what they deserved. Even more than they deserved. I sold that house full of bad memories, and moved to a completely new city, using part of the money to invest in a small studio, doing the design work I truly love. A year later, I met a girl by Eri Lake with a clear smile, who loved to paint. She didn't know my past, only knew the me now. We slowly got to know each other, attracted to one another. Another dusk, we sat on the balcony, watching the sunset over Eri Lake. She leaned on my shoulder and softly asked, "You always seem to carry a shitari. Sometimes you look so far away. It's all in the past. The present and future are what matter most." The distant Songshan and Arai were as quiet as a painting, as if never touched by that filth and blood. My new life, on the ruins of a complete reset, began quietly and